Welcome back to a brand new episode of Your Wealth and Beyond. I'm your host, Andrew Ruffell, coming to you from the Dream Plan Retire Studio. And today, I've got a special guest in-house, longtime friend, I think of over 10 years.
Yep.
Ryan Madrid, the co-founder of Bison Ventures, as well as podcast host of Into the Storm. And today we're going to go through your entrepreneurial journey with starting Bison Ventures, look at how some of the things that with growing up with family and how that's been in your blood, and how you've really turned in just 2 years, you and your co-founders have turned Bison Ventures into one of the leading mortgage companies here in Phoenix. And we'll talk through on how they've done that through culture, as well as, really focusing on the client experience. So it's great to have a podcaster in the house.
Dude, seriously. Thanks for having me.
Welcome to the studio, my friend. How are things going?
It's going well. Obviously, it's been a rough run in the mortgage business, so to speak. And we started in March of 2022, and that's kind of, I think in April, the market turned. Yeah. So we've seen rates just skyrocket, and basically skyrocket in 3-4 months. And we've been kind of holding steady in that 6-7 range for almost 2 years now. And, it's not exactly what we were looking for when we started the company. But we've been able to, keep our current company together. We haven't had to let anybody go. And being able to still get business, still get deals, make everybody happy, and maintain, like you said, the flow that we like to say that we do really well. Yeah. And as far as our customer service, and that's the biggest thing, is keeping service together. And
so as we look to trials and tribulations of starting any company.
Yeah.
We'll talk through of how you started it in a tough environment. It's almost like starting a tech company in 2001.
Exactly.
Or getting into real estate in 2008, 2009.
Yeah.
So I know entrepreneurial has been in your blood, and ultimately, looking back to your family roots, you saw some of that, with your dad, and walk us through with your grandfather.
Yeah, I would say it was more so my grandfather had a pharmacy called Madrid Pharmacy downtown Phoenix. It's literally on Central. Him and his brother, and this is before you really had to go to pharmacy school and actually get a degree, a doctorate or a PhD in pharmacy. And so, these guys were both from Mexico and came over and just started working at the pharmacy, and then they ended up owning the pharmacy and running the pharmacy. And my dad was, running drugs around, him and his brothers, delivering all through Phoenix. And they lived in downtown Phoenix. Yeah. And my dad, is funny though, it's all the boys decided to go into pharmaceutical sales. So they all became pharmaceutical sales reps.
It was what they knew. It was in the blood.
So instead of going and doing their own thing, they kind of just went and they were I want to do something safe. So, but my dad regretted that for sure. Because he died pretty young, and towards the end of his life, he was only 57. He was telling me basically we're having these in-depth conversations of dude, don't do what I've done, do something different. And because I had followed in the footsteps, I went straight into pharmaceutical sales out of college. Then I went into medical device sales. But
were you guys working together at all?
Yeah, we worked at Abbott Laboratories together. Yeah,
that's awesome.
Yeah, it was really cool. We were in 2 different divisions. I was cardiovascular, and he was in neuroscience. But yeah, it was actually really cool working with him. And he actually retired from there. And even though he didn't start with Abbott, but it eventually, he never changed companies. They just kept getting bought. And then Abbott was the last company that basically bought. So he had his first job right out of college, was the job he retired at. So, they don't do that anymore. People don't do that anymore. But that company was the last company to have a pension, Abbott Laboratories and Johnson & Johnson. So it's good for those people. But, I was just not happy working in corporate America. I hated it. And, I was making great money and you had the normal life, but it's when you have friends doing their own thing and you're looking around. I don't care if it's it's a concrete company, a plumbing company, or they're a real estate company, or they're a tech company. you just see them kind of making their own shots and they're calling their own shots. And I just always envied it, and I remember being in La Jolla one summer and I had to go to Omaha, Nebraska. I was there with my family. I had to fly to Omaha for the next morning, and then I had to fly back that night. And I'm on the beach before I'm leaving with a buddy who has his own business. He's in some flip-flops. This is back when the Blackberries were big. So he's on a Blackberry, he's doing deals, and he just was like, yeah, I come out here for 2 months a year, and I just rent a place over here in Solano Beach. And I'm like, dude, I'm like a pretty high-level person at a big company at this point. And I'm like, dude, I'm going to Omaha tomorrow, leaving my family. This dude's in flip-flops, in the sand, in California. What am I doing?
Yeah, and you had young kids at the time.
Dude, young kids at the time. And
they're like Willie Loman, basically. Just hopping on the flights.
Yes. Dude, all the time.
Yeah.
Literally, sometimes I'd drive to Vegas for the day just to do a case. And I'm like, what am I doing with this? And then, after he passed away, it was really where my uncle and I sat down, and my uncle was like, dude, your dad and I talk about this all the time, would talk about it. Ryan's got so much, he's doing exactly what we did. He's got so many friends and they're out doing all this fun stuff. He needs to be doing something different. So my uncle's the one who said, dude, go interview all your friends that are successful, but very happy in what they do, and tell them that you're looking to do something different and you're just trying to gather information, but they're not interviewing you. You're interviewing them to maybe you will go, hey, maybe I'll go do something with you. That was the best advice ever. So I did that.
Wow.
And so I went and did it. And the last place I went was VIP Mortgage. And I had known the owners of VIP Mortgage for a long time. We met in a fantasy football league in our 20s. And, and I had a bunch of buddies in the mortgage business. And I was like, okay, this is kind of doing your own thing. I mean, that's not your own company. It's doing your own thing. And so I went and met with those guys, and we didn't talk about business at all. And this is my last meeting, by the way. And I already kind of made a decision to go work with another buddy of mine, I think, but, and we're in there for an hour, and I leave, and we didn't talk about me going to work with them at all. So I get in the car and I call my uncle. I was like, I think I'm going to go work with, Adam and Alan. He goes, oh, that's cool. He's like, what happened with Jay? And I was like, dude, we didn't talk about business at all. He goes, well, that's where you need to go. And I was like, well, we didn't talk about business at all. Never brought it up 1 second, right? And he's like, well, man, what did you guys talk about? And I told him, I was like, we talked about my dad, talked about my mom, and we talked about just life, and he was his mom was struggling, and we just talked about personal things. We just caught up. And he goes, man, he's like, well, your best friends that you went and met with, you guys talked about numbers. You guys talked about what job roles, what you talked about, compensation. And you didn't talk about any of that stuff. You didn't talk about any of the personal stuff. He's like, you need to be around people right now that are more focused on your personal life and what's going on with you and their care, and it sounds like you guys have a lot in common. And it's good right now, be with somebody that cares. So, dude, later on the day, I got a call from Jay. This is a true story. I'm not making this up. Literally, he calls me and goes, he's like, hey, dude. He's like, sorry I had to run out so quickly. So, dude, we would love for you to come over and work with us. What do you want to do? And I was like, I have no idea. I was like, I didn't know if this was even be an option because, we didn't even talk about anything. He goes, I know. He's like, but obviously we want you to work with us. I mean, you're coming from corporate America where you've learned all this business acumen for all these years. We're just a bunch of guys that just barely graduated from high school, right? Some of us went to college but didn't graduate from college. And we're running this company. We've had no training, so to speak, on how to run things or how to just handle different things that you're forced upon in corporate America. He's like, dude, so what do you want to do? You want to be the CEO? And I was like, dude, absolutely not. I've never done a loan. I have one on my house. That's it. And so I was like, let's just figure it out. But and it's tough leaving a company that you're making a W-2.
Yeah, you got the young kids, making good income.
Yep.
Obviously, trials of having to travel, but you've got then benefits.
Dude, I didn't even leave out the part that I was going through a divorce, literally in the heart of it. So,
it's his gut check time.
Oh, right? Bro, big time. I mean, I lost my mom, lost my dad, then a year and a half later, lost my mom. And then remember, I got in a real bad accident, and then I'm going through a divorce, and now I'm going to change careers, and like all this stuff's like hitting me at once. And not many things were going wrong for me in my life ever, really, up until this point. And then I was just like, bam, 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 just getting hit left and right. And I had a big nut, dude. And you're making a lot of money, and you're buying boats and cars and houses and shit. So I told him, I was like, sorry, I just cussed, but I told him, I was like, I need to be guaranteed money. Like this, I have to. In order for me to do this, I need to be guaranteed. And he's like, well, let me know how much you need. And I was like, okay. And I told him, and it was a lot, dude. Like it was a lot for people that are just 1099, for somebody to come in from outside the business.
Right. No experience
at all. And I told him the number. It was I can't remember if it was either $12,000 a month or $15,000 a month. Like I need that guarantee. That's just enough to pay my bills. Right. And he was obviously like, okay, we don't really do this normally, but we'll do it because we're going to count on it. We're going to count on the fact that you're going to obviously do something. And dude, it wasn't very easy. That's for sure, getting started. But eventually, I just like found my niche when I started bringing people from other companies over. And that was really what I found is like, okay, it wasn't necessarily the loan side of everything. It's like the relationship side of everything. It's like for me. Like I just was like making partnerships with all these, like with North & Co. and with the brokery and my home group, and like nobody in our company had any relationships with any of those brokers. So now all of a sudden now we're preferred lenders in these big brokerages, and then people are seeing that. So then I'm getting recruited all the time, but I'm like, I'm not going to go anywhere. So I would like reverse recruit everybody. And then the money started coming in. We started bringing in. I mean, we were doing like $1 billion of business just in business that I was bringing in. At one point I was doing almost 50% of the business for the entire company. It's just from not me personally, but like right. I had brought in either our branch, me and Stu, or just like Austin Bates and the guys in Gilbert, and we all brought in a big branch this last year over to VIP because we couldn't handle them on our side. They were too big. They were bigger than us. It's our company. So
for the listeners who don't know the mortgage industry, when you say $1 billion, what does that mean? I mean, that's a big number to me.
That just means $1 billion in loans. So it doesn't mean like $1 billion, sort of $1 million house.
You're at a high, like from the caliber of like you're like the top 5% of
top 1%.
Yeah. And so you jump in. You're getting this, a little bit of pressure on you in the beginning, but you're one of your and I've seen it in action, just the way you can connect with people, right? Deepening relationships. You're always, it's never a bad time with Ryan.
Right.
Maybe
we're pretty good together.
Yeah.
But
and so that's where you met Stu, your current, founder.
Yep.
You met at VIP.
Yep. So this is a good part too. So Stuart was the number one guy at VIP, and he was at a point where he was just burnt out, and he, I was trying to like build everything on my own, do my own thing, and I'd go get these relationships. And when you're doing mortgage and you're like a solo LO, you got to go get the business and you have to bring it in, and then you got to take the loan application and then you have to calculate the income and you have to structure the loan and find the deals. When you're new, you have to learn all this stuff, and it's super hard. So you have to lean on people to do so. And I would just always go into his office. I'm like, dude, this is like what's going on here. And then I was bringing in people maybe to partner with. I thought would be a good idea, and it just wasn't working out. And then finally one day, he was at a point where he was like thinking, all right, maybe I'm just going to go take a year off and go do something else. Cause he's like, if I have to take another loan application, I'm like going to kill myself. And he'd been doing it since he was 22. So he was burnt. And this is 2015. And so we went to lunch. Where's Houston's at? Is that right over? That's a McDonald's. So like in that Houston's, there's that, the other restaurant that's right there. But anyways, irrelevant. Good restaurant, great turkey burger. And he's like, here's the deal, dude. You can sit next to me in my office and you can learn everything that I've known. You can listen to all my calls and I can teach you everything I know. Or we can just partner up. you go kill the pig and I'm going to make the bacon, right? And we'll split everything. And I was like, let's do that. I want to do that. And that's literally how it went. Like, I was like, dude, done. Like, I don't want to do I don't want to do any of that work.
Yeah.
We're just going to build a company now. So Brianna was already working with us, and she's our senior loan officer, but she's basically our partner. And she was taking over for more of the applications and doing a lot of the stuff that Stu was trying to get away from, because we needed to figure out how can we create the business for like the client experience, right? The client relation coordinator who schedules the appointments, so we're not playing phone tag back and forth with clients. And then you need production partners, you need production managers, you need processors and underwriters, all this stuff. And as our volume started increasing, we needed more people. And it wasn't necessarily more about bringing other LOs into our business. It was like operations, behind the scenes people. And that's the only way you can really make it. You spend more money, doing it. And you've seen it, obviously, with your clients that you sent over to us. But, we take a lot of pride in like our system. It's dialed in. Like, you get a phone call, you have 10 minutes after you've gotten the phone call to reach out to the person, make an appointment. And then after that, you have it's a cadence, right? You have a certain amount of time before the follow-up email goes out. And then who's it going to? And then when it comes back in, there's just all this stuff. At one point, it was a 52-point system. Now it's like 100 and now it's ridiculous.
But this was at VIP.
This is at VIP.
So you're basically at VIP. You're using them as an umbrella, and you are running, in a sense, you're running your own company within.
Yeah. Yep.
Okay.
Yeah. Our own team, but essentially you're an independent contractor that just has a place that's like, there's your it's kind of like your broker dealer, right?
Yeah.
It's like that. They're our bank. So we became partners, and we killed it for many years, but Stu and I had been talking for a long time about doing our own thing. And for me, it was like we were talking about all kinds of things. Like, what can we go do in other businesses? It goes back to even before. It's like, all right, we're hitting, we're hitting singles and doubles. And then we see like our other buddies that are hitting like home runs with these like $1 million checks. It's like you're not making a ton of money on a loan, and it's a lot of work. And especially on the LO side, you're making good money. Don't get me wrong,
right?
But you have to do a lot of volume to make really good money. And we were like, all right, what are we gonna do like later in life? Like, what's our legacy gonna be? And are we gonna stay in the mortgage business? At this point, like him and I are ride or die. Like, whatever we do in life, we're doing it together. Like, it's like we're like a married couple basically. So we had been talking about it, and so our other partner is Jeremy West, and that's Stuart's best friend from childhood. And Jeremy was a banker up at Chase Bank, and in San Francisco, and he is on his trajectory was very rapid moving. We literally couldn't. I didn't know him really that well before we got into this, so I was like, okay, we're bringing in a third partner. It's kind of like business we built, and then like, dude, we couldn't have done any of this stuff without him. He's the smartest dude I've ever met in my life. And like, he just knows how to do it. And it goes back to even to like the business acumen of running at like Chase Bank for 18 years or whatever he was there for. I mean, it's the simple things like running meetings even, right? Just like running your P&Ls. I mean, he's got the mind of like a CFO, but also of like a COO. That's why he's both for us. But the day-to-day stuff, just like making sure things get done. Just from the bank. You just
didn't want it.
I just don't even know how. Like, neither of us even know how to do that stuff, and he just did. So, but they had a situation where they were kind of having a sidebar conversation as well about like, Jeremy was like, gosh, do I want to stay at Chase Bank for the rest of my life? And they were just had a conversation one week when Stuart was in an RV driving through Utah, and Jeremy was in Park City. And he threw it out there, and then he didn't really think Jeremy was going to bite. And then like as he's driving the next day, Jeremy calls and says, "Hey, I'm really thinking about doing this." And Stuart's like, "Oh, okay." So then they kind of had to do some investigating of us actually like leaving VIP and how that would work. And I think that it was a tough time in the mortgage business because everybody was moving companies, and you had cross country coming into the market, and they were just killing it. Fairway was, writing big checks to a bunch of people. And we were highly sought after because we were like top 5 in Arizona and we were walking away from millions of dollars. Like literally these people were getting $1.5 million, $2 million, $3 million to go other places. And we're like, well, it's like we were all making great money. So it's like, it didn't really matter because the market was fine. And our loyalty to VIP and to Jay and Keith was really always there. Cause that was always our really hard thing. It's like, what are we going to do? We got to leave. Like it's like, you can almost be loyal to a fault sometimes. And you got to, and I still struggle with this big time. I remember the moments like when I didn't have any money and I was struggling and Jay loaned me like 30 grand.
Yeah.
And that was 8 years ago. And I've done billions of dollars for this company probably at this point. And I still have that 30 grand in my mind going like, dude, he gave me this money to like help me pay for my kid's private school one day because I didn't have enough money for it. And like, I can't let that go. Other people say I should, and it should be fine, but there's just things about staying loyal. But then you got to think about your family and your kids and that sort of stuff, and your priorities. I got 4 kids in college, So we did some investigating and trying to figure out a way that we could do it with Jay and Keith. Us be our own separate entity, but have them partner with us. And that's how it ultimately ended up happening. So Bison Ventures was formed with me, Jeremy and Stuart, and Jay and Keith. So those are the 2 principal owners of VIP. We have our own warehouse lines. It's our own money. We all put in, our own cash, and we use VIP for shared services. So we pay VIP for HR, IT, secondary, like shipping, just like all the back end stuff that you would have to do in a loan. And then, as you scale, you will be bringing things in. Yeah. Because there's a profit center in every single element that, it costs us a lot of money to send all our stuff over to VIP when we can just keep it in house. But right now we're not doing enough business for it to make sense to do that. But it was like the best of both worlds. We got to stay within our family. We're still under the VIP umbrella in our minds. But we have our own company.
You look at it as like, I look at it as Bison Ventures.
Yeah.
Is yours. You don't even, the common person doesn't know
they don't know
type of the intricacies of that.
No. And it's a very unique structure too, because we've talked to multiple different people about our structure and how we've done it. And it's like nobody's ever done it this way in that fashion. Like a true JV, it's not normal in our business. It's mostly DBA type stuff, or you're just your own entity. But, we have our own covenants, we have our own, own money, we have our own warehouse lines, and that's just different.
So, within 7-8 years, you've had 2 major turning points. You decided leave corporate world, 2012, 2013.
Yep.
Then you find Stuart. You guys know you're destined to work together, whether it stays in that industry, whether you guys venture out into something else.
Yep.
And then this is in 2020. You have to also make that decision: loyalty versus free agency. Do we just go and just follow that big check? Maybe it works, maybe not. But ultimately, we're back in the same boat that we were in. Yeah. And so by being able to partner with them, tie it all in together, win-win. But also, you didn't know really the coming storm of the interest rate environment.
Yeah, I know.
Ignorance is bliss sometimes.
Yeah, I tell you what, we've definitely, just complete honesty on this. It's been rough, dude. Like as far as us not taking, you have to make sacrifices when things are like the way they were, and we didn't want to. We didn't want to let people go. We got a family that works for us, people that have been with us forever, mother, daughter, my sister, and just friends. And it's like, so we've taken, we've chosen not to take paychecks for many months to make sure that everybody's okay, because, the economic indicators are always like, okay, things are about to change. We're about to change.
Yeah.
Shit's about to go better. Sorry. And it just doesn't happen. And it's trending obviously in the right direction. And people are also starting to get used to the higher rates. And as we grow and people come to work with us, we bring LOs. And really, that's like the growth part for us. It's not about, it's trying to help other people grow their businesses now underneath our umbrella. But during these times, it's like it's hard to recruit people over there doing any business because nobody's doing really that much business. I mean, people that were doing massive business are doing very little.
Yeah,
I mean, people are doing hundreds of millions of dollars might do like 40 million this year.
Right. And most people have never dealt with that before. Most of the people in the mortgage industry, they saw, for 7, 8, 9 years, that golden age, as interest rates kept going down. One positive is that Arizona, Phoenix is still a growth area. So we do have that on our side. And then, as you said, as people get used to this new norm, these are where rates are going to be, and then the potential of, hey, we'll refinance if rates do go down. Yeah. But as you guys left, and not really left, but
we left.
Yeah, you left, and you built this. Where did you guys, when you looked at this culture that you've built, the systems that you were honing all those years at VIP? One thing in 2 years, you guys go from startup to the top places to work in your sector, the top place for Phoenix Business Journal. Mm-hmm. That says a lot on what the three of you guys have built from the ground up.
Yeah, I mean, that was a cool day, honestly, because like it was shocking to us. And we feel like we do a really good job of making sure everybody's happy. And between the three of us, you're going to have good days and bad days, but three of us, it kind of works out in the fashion that, one of us is always going to be on. But, you learn a lot of things, in previous places you work, and VIP always wins best place to work too, right? They've won it for years and for like big companies. But there was a lot of things that we thought we could do different, that more our style. And for our employees, it was more like family, love. And as we grow, who knows, like if it can stay that way. We're hoping it can, but we're still so small that, we care about everybody that works for us. And it's hard, to have people that trust you and they're ride or die for you. And, they were used to making a certain amount of money too. I mean, if you're doing a ton of units, your production manager, your client coordinator, the processors, they're making good money because they're getting paid per deal as well. Well, now you're only doing like 15 deals, right? And now they're going, well, hell, they're in this boat too, and we're going, okay, how do we make it so they're not dying as well? Because I mean, it's been like 50% of the people in this business has left the business. Right. So beyond anything, I think even Stuart and Jeremy would say the same thing. It's like the fact that we won that, which they don't know how really, is amazing to us because I feel like, all right, all these sacrifices we're making and everything we're doing something right. And it's just good, I think, for just the community to see it too. When we go to recruit people or we go to talk to other people, it's a big deal for us. Because right now people are, other LOs, they're struggling, man. People are like depression. I mean, talking about like mental health, like it's a whole problem right now in the real estate community in general.
Right. Not just LO, you got real estate agents.
Real estate agents,
brokerage houses.
Everybody's kind of, except for like the top dogs and they don't really care about mortgages that are selling, $10 million houses for cash. That's fine. But like normal, like the average person that was a very good real estate agent, they had to use loans to get their deals, right? Most of those people came through, we got it, they put a 10% down or 5% down, and then they got a mortgage. Well, with rates going up and prices going up, people can't afford houses anymore. So it's like, I mean, it was like 1 out of every 5 was going through because they're like, all right, the affordability is just not there. So everybody's stressing out. And so, again, just back to just the fact that like we know all the mental health side of everything, that people are just sad and depressed. And the fact that we still were voted best place to work was really cool.
So what are some, if I'm an entrepreneur listening, trying to either start a business or get my culture to where you guys have, beyond just keeping their heads together and, keeping everybody staying as positive as possible. What are some of those things that you guys built inside the culture to build that family unity and to do things beyond the monetary that obviously we know isn't right there right now?
Yeah.
But what are some of those things that led you to where you are right now with best places to work?
I mean, I think authenticity has been really big with us. We're all three kind of emotional guys. And I think that like our whole staff has sometimes seen us cry, you know, like there's been times where we're like, dude, they know that we care, right? They know that like everything we're doing is for them and for us, right? And we want them in the office as much as possible, right? But it's not that easy right now, especially if we ever got used to not being around. So we do as much as we can together as a team. We make everybody come in on Tuesday. And at that time, it's like you feel the energy when everybody's around. It's so much better because everybody loves each other. Like they all get along too, which makes everything really great for us because we're not dealing with too much drama, right? But we got one lives in Santan, we got two that live out in way west Surprise, people living out on like Lake Pleasant Road. Like we just happened to hire people because a lot of people we knew from the past, and I lived out there. So they have big drives. It's really hard to make people come in. And so like we just did a clay shooting event brought everybody out to Ben Avery and did, teams and did a clay shooting deal. Just little things like we have our monthly meetings. In those meetings, it's all about like learning about each other. We do, there's a really cool company called Anthem, and you would love this, dude, because you're a big music guy.
I had him on the podcast. Brian
Oh,
Moore.
yeah. I forgot.
We haven't done it yet with our crew here, but it's.
Dude,
did you guys do it?
Yeah, we did it, dude. I mean,
shout out to Anthem. What's up, Brian? We're gonna and our guys are all music people.
Yeah.
And
well, we're bringing in. So they have like movies, they have TV shows. So for those people that don't know what this is, so basically, what we did is you pick 5 songs that mean something to you in your life. And it could be like, your wedding song. It could be your graduation song. It could be just like a moment that you had in time, and you basically go into Anthem, their software, and you pick your song, and then you would write the story. And we went through every single person, and it was one of the most like intense, like knocking down like walls with every like people that I was like that are pretty just like
reserved and
were like bawling, right? And because you're telling these like really intricate like personal stories that and some people I think had a problem, struggled with like going too personal, and then it just started flowing. And then it was a really incredible deal. So that's one of the things we did. We're going to do the movies next, and we've been talking about it because once you're in their system, you can do all that stuff.
Then you don't need them actually being in there to walk
to facilitate it.
Yeah,
but Brian did it for us, and that was like
great. Yeah,
and that was the only time I think he'd ever done that. Like he wants to do it all over, like Zoom and stuff. But he came to us and he did it, and it was like, and he was like, "Geez, man, this was pretty incredible." So just doing stuff like that, and Liz Clevin, who works for us, she's part of our she's basically in charge of corporate culture for us for the meetings and just events and that sort of stuff. And she does a really good job with just making sure that every time we're together that we are learning more about each other's personal sides. And we make a point to have meetings with all our people as often as possible, checking in on them from the personal and professional side of things. And, we have a few people that we're assigned to, and you build a strong relationship with those people too. It's like, I have, one of my daughter's friends works for us, and she's our client relation coordinator, and she's like my other daughter basically. And, I just had a conversation with her the other day, trying to figure out what she wants to do. Like, what's your next step? Like, do you want to keep doing this? She's engaged to get married now. Like, you want to buy a house, obviously, and, you're going to need to make more money. Like, what do you want to do? And she's just like, check in with me in like 6 months. Because right now I really like what I'm doing. Right now it's comfortable for me. And then you have some other people, they're like, yeah, I'm ready to like start talking about, maybe I think I want to get my license. I think I want to be an LO. Okay, right? Or I want to do both. I want to have the ability to get paid if I can bring deals in. And so I just think of us always just trying to stay in front of everything.
Yeah, those one-on-ones are so crucial.
Yeah.
You can't hide or fake empathy.
Right.
And obviously, the three of you have that. And having the ability to spend that time and like letting them know that you care, and not faking it.
Yeah.
That helps you guys weather the storm, to get through to where the next 3 years, 5 years. That's tremendous.
Time flies too. So sometimes it's not perfect. Like, oh my gosh, we're like, oh, she's it's been 5 months, right? Yeah. I mean, it's almost April. It's like all of a sudden we're through the first quarter of this year. And, so keeping each other accountable, we've now, we do our weekly just leadership meetings, just me, Stu, and Jeremy, and sit down and we have our lanes. And one of the things we didn't do very well at the beginning, to be honest with you, is stay in our own lanes. We were all in each other's way doing things, and we'd all go to the meetings together, and we'd have, if we ever we're recruiting somebody, we'd all go, really. And it really should be a tag team sort of deal, but we all don't need to be at everything, Yeah. We don't need to be at every meeting. We don't need to be at every production meeting. We don't need to be at every marketing meeting. So we've picked our lanes, who's got what lane, and we're going to stay in those lanes, and we hold each other accountable on Mondays. So we sit down and we're like, did you do what you said you were going to do? Okay, do you need help with this? It's tough, dude. This is technically yours, right? Like, you're the CEO president. I personally, after doing this, I can't imagine doing it alone.
Yeah.
The pressure is tremendous. And the amount of things to do along with your own business as well, dude, it is so hard. And so we have like a three-headed monster, and it works for us. Those guys could probably do it without me, but I couldn't do it without
I don't think so. The connector, the business development, being out there. Fortunately for me, starting this firm in 2015, over the last 8 years, I've got a great team, great leadership team. So we're all in it together, which has helped me focus on a lot of the things that I want to do and that I'm good at, and knowing, hey, I'm not good at this.
Yeah. Right.
You do that, and you take the accountability for it. But having two partners, especially Stu, working with them since 2013, that's huge. Because you've got that peace of mind. Or if you're traveling for 2 weeks, things are going to get done, and there's a trust factor.
Totally.
No one's going to stab each other in the back, and then that flows down to the culture that you built. And that's what people want to be part of. And we know industries ebb and flow. We keep grinding. You keep doing what you're doing. Now, marketing wise, so I always like to hear stories of where did Bison come from?
Yeah.
Where you guys
So this is a kind of why we named it Bison Ventures, honestly, just to answer these questions, because it's like the ambiguity of like, wait, you're a mortgage company. Why is it called Bison Ventures and why Bison? And so we did, when you're thinking about, coming up with a name, especially in like the financial world, it's always capital, it's finance, financial,
right, or
mortgages, and we just knew that we didn't want to just do it that way, and we did hire a company, Root and River, which is a great name, by the way. So she helped us kind of go through, our whole process from the core values, the mission statement, vision, all that stuff, and even the name. So we knew it wasn't going to be like Madrid, Crawford, West, right?
Smart.
And we did bring up Baintree, right? That was a cool thing too, because that story's cool, how you came up with that name. So I had brought that up. I was like, think about something, because we all have something in our lives that maybe means something to you or sounds good that we can bring into our business, and it could be named that with no one really know what it means, right? I mean, wasn't it just like a street or something?
Yeah,
okay.
yeah. We built a brand out of nothing.
Right, and it's a cool name. And so for us, Stuart had heard the story of the bison. So the American bison it is the American animal, not the bald eagle. It's the American animal. And it's the only animal that gathers as a herd and runs into the storm. Every other animal runs away from the storm. And the mortgage business it can be a storm, especially right now. It's been a storm. I mean, I can't even tell you how many conferences and like marketing plans for the next year in the real estate business right now is called Into the Storm. Like it's right now is what it is everywhere you go. And like we were a little bit ahead of our time, I think, with that, not knowing that it was going to crash. But yeah, so we named it. So we're like, all right, this is a cool story. It's a cool analogy to the business, right? And so he was actually on that same trip that he was talking to Jeremy. They were in Yellowstone, and he was driving an RV. They were going like all up. They were going up to Montana and everything, and there was a whole herd of bison running next to him, and his wife looked at him and she's like, "It's bison," because we were still trying to figure out what it was. Yeah. She's like, "It's bison." He goes, "Yeah, it's bison." And then he sent us a video, and it's like, "Yeah, we're gonna be." We're like, Jeremy and I were like, because I wasn't like quite there. And I was like, it's bison. Yeah, it's bison. It's going to be. And then the more you dig into it, I mean, just like everybody, even when the Native Americans would hunt the bison, when they dismantled the bison, everybody in the family and in the tribe had a different role in the just like and how they worked with it. Was like whether it was the fur, the kids did the hooves, it was like, so it was kind of like you could put that into your business as well. Everybody's got a different job in the structure in our model, so that was another cool thing. And it just so happens one of the guys that was helping us with the branding was from Idaho, so he knew everything there was about the bison, which is awesome. And then Ventures came from, it's not necessarily a financial term. It's really just abbreviated version of adventure. So it's like, all right, we're going on this adventure right now, but it sounds like it's a financial term.
It's got a good flow. That's how I thought of it. As Ventures is that end.
Yeah.
But that's cool that it's the adventure side of it.
Yeah. So, but we use it as the financial side of things. But it's also because we didn't want to just be a mortgage company, because we don't know what. Like this could be just the start of something, and Bison Ventures could be the
holding company, and then,
the holding company that's going to have other companies underneath it, but it's at the beginning we definitely second guess ourselves a few times because we were talking about it over and over and over again, and we did get like some negative feedback from some people. We're like, well, I don't know if that doesn't really make sense, and then as time went on. The logo turned out incredible, and then everything kind of turned into positive feedback, and then we started learning to tell the story, and we started learning that it's actually fun to tell the story, and it is better that we're just not Bison Mortgage out there. Not that would be a bad name either, or Bison Financial or Bison Capital, right? But it's just especially when the people were like, "Why would you do that?" And then I tell them a story, they're like, "Oh, it's actually pretty cool," So we're really happy.
And then you got your herd, so your team is part of the herd.
Everything's called the herd. We call it everything.
And the podcast that you started a few years ago, you switched the name once you started Bison to Into the Storm.
Yep.
What happened? So with pot, and that's I love that history of the story, and I love the logo, and that strong foundation. And I've got an affinity because we grew up in Cleveland, Beechwood Bison. I don't know why we're the bison. I got to figure that out. But it touches me every time I see it, and it's just strong and the stability, and it's just
it's nice to have all you Cleveland guys that really like the name, the logo.
That's it. We would have
they love the bison.
The Cleveland Mafia there. Mm-hmm. So, Mark, for you, podcasting. You're great at it. Obviously, there's, when people ask, what's the return on investment? There is, you can't quantify that,
right? Can't quantify it. Thank you for saying that, dude. I have to say that all the time.
So with podcasting, that's working back to family, being able to work with your sister Trisha on building that and having, almost 100 episodes to date, and you've got things dialed in and you're great at it. But, what was your passion for that? Was it just to utilize and get your thirst for knowledge and bringing in some great people? I
think that it's shifted a few times. It was real talk with Ryan at the beginning, and kind of stumbled my way around trying to figure out what I really wanted to talk about, and if it was going to be fully real estate, anybody who maybe just referral partners, and then it went to, I really just wanted to have cool people that do cool things that are like entrepreneurs in the Valley. Or they could be outside the Valley, but most of the time it's, and we just happen to have a ton of friends that do cool stuff, right? And I could schedule out for 2 years on that. And I think we found our niche, and Trisha kind of like revitalized it for me. She was like, all right, we're really going to do this. I really want to get behind this. And then my nephew, Trey, he's our engineer for it. He went to, he went to film school to do like movies and stuff in Toronto Film School, like a real good school, and then graduated during COVID. Didn't really have a gig, so we're like, I know this isn't your dream.
Yeah, now he's editing Ryan.
You're going to be editing videos.
Although you do look, I mean, it's silly. You haven't aged at all. This guy doesn't he look good, people?
50.
Yeah, 50. Look at him.
But so yeah, dude, for me, I really like doing it because I get to have my friends on, have conversations, and when I don't know where you guys are at with like the clips and all that sort of stuff and shorts, but our episodes go long. I mean, they'll go hour and a half, 2 hours sometimes. And, we were getting like, 50, 70 views, I don't really know. And of course it's all on audio as well. And you can go on any of the audio platforms to do so, but, I'm sorry, podcast platforms. But once we started realizing that like people were not necessarily stop looking at like the whole episode and picking out 5 clips out of every episode, it changed dramatically. Like, oh my God, like we have some that have over 1 million views, hundreds of thousands of views for like a 30-second clip or 60-second clip on Instagram, Facebook, or YouTube. And then we hired, a social media manager to kind of manage that stuff for us. Trey's capable of pulling out the clips for us, and I pay him to do that. I pay him literally per clip. I don't want to say it out here because it's probably cheap, but and I pay him to do the engineering side, kind of like Lexi's doing for you right now. But it's mostly post-production work that he's doing. And we try to, my sister's super anal with everything, like all the marketing stuff. It has to be perfect. And she does do a very good job at that. And so I leave it up to them to make sure that, I leave it up to them to make sure it looks great, but it always does anyways. I don't really care as much as they do.
Yeah, you just show up, you do your thing.
Yeah.
And then, and I think too, with the attention spans people have, yes, some people are going to listen to the whole thing, but you even look at like a Tim Ferriss, who's sometimes 3 hours, 2 hours. And then he gets those clips, those minute and a half. And that is what, people want to see. And then it comes down to that they get to see Ryan again. And it's just that persuading and that credibility. And again, it necessarily from our side too, it's like, did the podcast bring any business? Well, did they find us online, and then they found a podcast, and then they found a YouTube video, and then they followed us on Instagram, and they started getting to know who
Have you had people come up to you and tell you that like, oh, how's the podcast going? And right? And then you're like, oh, you listen to my podcast?
Yeah. We just, CPA
even your friends
recently,
that are like, you don't think that they do, but they do.
Yeah. And they get, with podcasting, that the whole world is, they get to know you, and they're listening to you in the gym or in the sauna or on a run. Yeah. And, as you get better at it too, being able to pepper the questions and trying to find those right guests. Yeah. And then they're all going to be the people that just watch that short clip. Yep. Then that's okay. Totally. So it's all marketing, any funnel, unless you're, for us, buying a lead, there's sometimes lead, then we can quantify that. Yep. But all the other things we do and you guys do with the social and the digital and getting things out there, or even just you do a lot of the education stuff or tying in with the broker house, those type of things, just it's a long play. Yeah.
And I think for me, it's like, I think like we did today, I mean, I may have told that story, but I don't think I have. Like the long version of like basically how, like the parent stuff. I don't think I've done that yet. And I've been meaning to. I've been to like, people wanted to do it on my own podcast, but I don't think I have. But so like that, I've had most of the conversations I have are personal. Like very rarely do we get into too deep into like, hey, what are the rates at today? Or what are you doing to market your company?
People don't want that.
They don't want that stuff. And so that's why it's hard sometimes, because you find people that, the most successful people doesn't mean that they're the most interesting. Yeah. I've had some agents on that are very low producing agents, but like I know about them. or they were when I had them on, and now they are doing very well. It's like
because of the podcast.
Yeah, it's definitely not because of the podcast, but definitely, there's some things that probably for sure got some recognition out there. People heard the story. It probably didn't hurt, right? I mean, there was one that there's a few that I remember that we just did maybe a 60-second clip of a woman talking about how when she found out her daughter had cancer. And she kind of just broke down, like we all did, actually. And I mean, that thing just was crazy on Instagram. And she was really good about being active with all the comments and stuff too, like herself. And that's another, value add. I think that it's for the people that we have on the podcast, they use those, like when we put them out, they just share them. Yeah. Right. And it's like marketing for them as well, on accident, really. Right. And I think they all really appreciate, the opportunity as well.
Right. And then it comes full circle back to you because they're getting it out to their network. And then all of a sudden you and Bison is getting promoted. And I've seen how you've added in a little bit of, not a commercial, but you've added in over the years, here's what we do. Yeah. Right. And it's not just Ryan bringing on awesome people and talking through on their life and their trials and their tribulations. Now it's like, okay, well, we're going to let you know.
Yeah. Sometimes that's another thing. It's like, we're not perfect for sure. And there's been months where I'm like, oh my gosh, we've got to, I forgot, we have to tell everybody that we're a mortgage company. Right. Right. Oh yeah. By the way, we do all this cool stuff and then the podcast, but really the way to pay for this is we own a mortgage company. Yeah. And, we'd like to do business with you. Yeah. So please, help us.
Because too, I mean, even though you went through the story of the name, people may think you're like a venture capitalist company. We're investing in businesses, right? Which again, may be something you do in the future. Right. But, making sure that people know. And then once we've seen it too with referrals that we've sent, just the way you guys do things is different than what we've experienced with other partner referrals where we send it out and we're just like, okay, I hope they did a good job. And then we don't hear anything. Right. And so building that up and probably taking from your experience and foundation of VIP and being able to do it there, we appreciate that. And then that in itself is marketing because then I'll go tell somebody, but I'll make sure my advisors are like, okay, we're sending it here because look what they did. And even if you didn't get the deal, you guys spend ample time working with that client, weighing out the pros and the cons, and we know, okay, we didn't get that one. We'll send you more business, but that
it makes you look good as well too because you're referring high profile people to somebody that could or could not make you look bad, and they're like, okay, well, I'm running with some good people that are equal to my stature as far as like how we do business.
100%.
And then so I get that as well because sometimes it doesn't always work out that way. Nothing's worse than giving out a referral and then coming back and then someone going, dude, what the heck is going on?
Yeah, from our end, like CPAs is kind of the golden goose that most advisors can't get into because most CPAs look at financial advisory firms as just, hey, they're salespeople, they don't know, and they're just going to put them in something and then move on. Yeah. We've built and educated the CPAs that, hey, we do good work. We're not just on the investment side. It's looking at the whole picture. It's helping on tax strategies. So, getting a referral from that end, having that trust that they've given us, that is something that's even a better referral than when a client refers a family member or neighbor or associate. And that's something, but it takes a long time to build that. And you guys have shown that, at least with us, that you take the time, the initiative, you've got pretty cool technology, and you do what you say you're going to do. And that's an important feature there in regards to,
I mean, all you have is your reputation at the end of the day, man, and it can go away real quick. Yep. Screw up a couple times and people tell their friends. And
10 years of hard work and one thing. Yeah. You're out.
It's important. For sure.
So as I know we've talked a lot today, you guys have, I think it comes down to finding for an entrepreneur out there that's thinking about starting something. It's like, if you do it on your own, but if you can have a trusted partner like that relationship, that partnership that you and Stu had, that's something that's special. And then bringing in Jeremy and knowing you guys each have your different value add that you bring and staying in that lane. And then, focusing on, for you've taken risks. You left corporate world. You'd still be probably plugging away somewhere in there and, making good income, but hating life and
totally.
So, we all have in life these certain turning points, these fork in the roads. And fortunately for you, you had family that was able to help at least lead you to the right direction. And then you opened up and you found the right people. And then it comes down to network. So the right people led you through. And now you're dealing with starting a company and, just putting your head down. And, there's no alternative except success.
It's a humbling experience for sure. I mean, I'll give you one little quick story here too. That's going on right now with me. And because I've learned a lot in like the last month. So I had 2 houses going for sale myself. So when I was living in, and we've been building another house in North Central for like 3 years now. Well, our kids are now gone. So there's no reason for us to have this house in North Central anymore. So the timing was we were going to sell that house, and then we were going to sell this house that we live in, and then, decide where we want to move into, your neighborhood. And well, the house that we lived in sold first. Okay. So then we've got this other house under, it's under contract right now.
Congrats. Beautiful house.
Thank you. Well, yeah, it turned out incredible. Thank gosh that it's, it sold under 4 weeks, but the other house sold in 1 day. Right.
Wow.
Yeah. North sold it for me and never,
sounds like it was
never even had to
underpriced.
go there. It was just a good neighborhood, man. The CSMC is up there, and it's just like everything was just flying. So we don't have anywhere to live, right? So I live with Lana's parents right now.
Really?
Yeah. And it's like, okay, we could go get an Airbnb, but we've got like all our stuff like in storage, and like we brought a bunch of stuff over to their house, and they're super cool and very easy to be around. So it makes it cool, but it's not where I expected it to be.
Right. As an empty nester, and now you're back into being the kid again.
Dude, I'm like literally on a cot.
Hey,
like,
you got home at 1 o'clock this morning, Ryan. What were you doing?
I'm pretty sure they don't care. But we got our dogs, and it was this whole thing. I was like, all right, so we just go move into another place and like wait until this thing, or do we just like figure out? Well, now we're there, and we're like, dude, when this thing closes, like it's almost summer. So we just stay here for like a little while and then just get out of town for a couple months, go get some Airbnbs in some different cities and just travel a little bit and then decide, okay, where do we really want to end up? And then you have to go through the whole, the process of like, what do you really need? And this is where we're having a tough time, right? Because we have 4 kids. So it's like, we still want them to come home. Everybody's like, all right, you're an empty nester. But are we really? Because they come home all the time.
Right. And you want them to have somewhere to be. You can't just, it's like great to have a turnkey place where you can lock and leave, 2-bedroom, and you don't have to think about it. But then you also think of those memories that you have with the 4 kids, and they all get along and they enjoy each other. It's
a struggle because from a financial standpoint, and you can give me some free advice right here, but it's like really like, do you buy the big house that has all the bedrooms Aiden lives in LA now, so he lives there, he's out of school. So it's the other 3, right? The one in Dallas and then 2 here in Tempe. And it's like, when they come home, their Christmas breaks are like a month, dude.
Yeah, I don't get it.
5 weeks. It's unbelievable.
Right.
We're
I feel like it wasn't like that when we were in college.
It wasn't like that. It's crazy. And even they're like summertime, it was like, and which is cool. They wanted to be at our house, but like they have apartments in Tempe. Yeah. But yet they're at our house every day with all their friends.
To you and that they enjoy your company,
right? But man, it's like but so it's like going back to, you buy the house that has like the dining room for the 1 day a year that people come over for Thanksgiving, or do you buy the place that's kind of turnkey makes it easy, and then when the kids are back, I'm like, dude, we'll get an Airbnb. I mean, it'd be like this badass, and everybody can go there and we can hang out there. From a financial standpoint, it's way cheaper to do that than it is to go and spend $2 million on a house or more,
right? Because
you need a 4-bedroom, 4-bath or 5-bedroom, 4-bath for the 4 weeks a year that the kids are there. I mean, this is where we're going right now. Like, we're struggling with this because, I mean, the difference in price is astronomical.
Yeah, and obviously the mortgages now versus 4 years ago, it's ridiculous.
Yeah, you're paying $13,000. Mortgage payments.
And then it's like, are we at a high point in the real estate market? It seems like things are pretty, found. We're in an even keel here where things aren't going up, but they're not in certain areas that you want to live in. They ain't going down.
No, they're not going down. Yeah, and that's the thing. It's like, you have a conversation with yourself and go, okay, well, 4 years ago when that house was 950,000, you're like, there's no way in hell this is going to be more than $950,000 on 19th Avenue in Jomax, right? Taylor Morrison house on an 8,000 square foot lot, 2-story, 3,200 square foot yellow house. It's selling for $1 million. Like, how the heck is that even possible? And then, the houses in Arcadia proper, McCormick Ranch, like, I mean, it's like Kotler's house. It's like, dude, kidding me? I mean, that house is worth like $2 million now. It's
Is it really?
Yeah.
Wow.
It's like, I mean, close to it, right? In that neighborhood, but like, how much more is going to go up? I don't know, because it just keeps going up. But I do know in other areas in town, it's not going up like 20% every year like it has been. It might be going up 5, 6, 7%, but you can also have that money and take the money that you would spend on the down payment, and get something less, and take the other money and put it with somebody like yourself and get, a bigger return.
Yeah, and thank you on that. Yeah, we'll do a meeting right after this. Map it all out for you. But somewhere maybe central where, again, do you need the 4,000 square foot house, 2,000 square foot house? And I like the fact that you said the Airbnb, even though they won't feel like they have their room that's theirs, but what are they there? 2.5 months potentially at the most. Yeah, in and out
at different times, right? But mind you, they have their own places too. Yeah, it's like. But it is, I mean, for somebody, we care about our family immensely. Like, our kids are everything to us, and we love the fact that they like to do stuff with us, and they've gotten to this age now where they're older, where like we can go to the open with them now, and we can go to dinner, and my son can have a beer, it's like, it's cool to, like, they're adults, and they're getting there to the point where, like, most people don't, like, I loved my mom and dad, but like, I came home for Christmas Eve and Christmas Day. And then I was out back with my friends back in my places that I lived, I was not hanging out around, but things are just different nowadays. So I do love the fact that they like to do that. But from a financial standpoint, we got to think about ourselves as well. Where are we going to be? I'm 50 years old now. It's like, I would rather be putting money into different places, other businesses, other opportunities, investment opportunities. And I think right now is a good time. And I think as the market turns, I always have to remind myself, right, that my income's going to be, it's still going to be good, and it's going to be increasing as the market turns and we're making more money and then we're getting more business. And it's like, because I'm like, all right, I just don't want to spend $13,000 a month on a mortgage payment. Yeah. Even this is what I do for a living, right? I think that it's, for me personally, I think that going and getting something that's more beneficial to us now and giving us the opportunity to invest in some things, but also just get out of town, man.
Right. That's what I was going to say. Give you the flexibility that you can, with your business too. It sounds like you can be away for a month as long as you're checking in. A lot of the stuff you're doing, it sounds like is virtual anyway with the employees. Yep. So, and if you got if you're in California for 3 weeks,
fly back.
You'll fly back a couple times, once or twice, in that time frame, and you're here for 2 days and you're checking in, and then boom, you're not feeling that large, big nut of $13,000. So that freedom and flexibility, it goes a long way. And I think the generation below us, they, the Gen Zs or even the millennials, they've kind of, that's been their mantra. Mm-hmm. We'll see what happens once they start having families, and do they want the bigger house and not just live like YOLO or whatever. So that's a whole nother issue.
It's a dad thing to say.
That's right. When can we cut that? All right. So, as Howard Stern says, you've said it all. We dug in deep today, learned a lot about the history of the company and your experience, and we're really excited. I am to see the growth of what you guys are building, and when things turn around in the industry itself, you're going to be there to partake in that, and then see where this goes. Trusted partners, building on empathy, authenticity, all those things that you bring inside the culture, and then you show to your clients as well. And then you being this connector out in the in this area, because it is Phoenix is big, but in your world, our world, it's incestual, and building those deep relationships and acting the same way you do with the kids, the same way you do with the employees, to your friends and business associates or potential business associates goes a long way. So testament to you and
Thanks,
your
man.
experiences along the way. So we appreciate you coming on board. We're excited to see the Into the Storm podcast getting back up and running again. And so all of the ways that you can find about Ryan, about the podcast, about the company will be in the show notes and below the video on YouTube as well. So again, thanks for joining us today. This has been awesome. And it's good to actually, and for you too, probably is to reverse the roles. Like when I came on your show a few years ago, which we'll put on in the show notes as well. It was different. I'm used to like peppering the questions. So for you, I'm sure you haven't been on a lot of podcasts. So it's neat to have it reversed.
Yeah. It's funny because for the amount of podcasts I've done, I haven't been on that many.
Yeah, me neither.
And I've never really sought out the opportunity to do so, I guess. But a lot of people do. They kind of work with each other, and it's probably smart. We should probably do more of it. But it was nice. I mean, so thank you for having me. And dude, the studio turned out freaking great.
Yeah. Love it. Thank you.
Better than ours now, so it sucks. But
hey, we had a huge. You guys had a huge bar to jump up, but have Trish come over. You guys can check it out, and then we can give you any tips. Like Lexi can help out. And
well, it's nice to see that the space is like you can do this much in this small of a space.
Right. It feels a lot bigger now than it was even with that. We had a big table and everything.
Yeah,
and it was
and we were going to go to some more along this sort of style as well. We were thinking about a couch, but I like this, like just the two chairs. This is actually really cool. Have you guys, what if a third person came on? Would you ever do, could you do three people?
I mean, we would have to do if 3 people came on.
You just have to
we have another
this?
chair. Yeah. And then we have like the same size chair, blue chair, but
cool.
And that way I can pepper them questions. And then when we're doing stuff, if I'm doing a solo podcast with a Zoom, then we have a big table that goes here and I'm standing, it's basically just me. And then we got the nice background there because we do a lot of those with people outside of the country, outside of the Phoenix area.
Right. Dude, great. So thank you so much, man. It was awesome. And
love having you. Love seeing you. And tune in later this month for a brand new episode of Your Wealth and Beyond. Happy planning, everybody.